Hello everybody, and thanks for tuning in for this special edition video all about the history of the Mercury Comet Cyclone. Sit back and hear how and why these cars were developed and how they evolved to meet market changes from year to year during the exciting and highly competitive muscle car era. We're glad you joined us today. Because the history of these wonderful cars is so extensive, we've elected to split this look back into two videos. The next can be seen this coming Sunday. Now, let's go for a ride. Unlike 1962 and 63, when the Comet series was marketed in two distinct series, the Falcon-based Comet and the Fairlane-based Meteor, the newly designed 64 Comets would all be sold within one size on a 114-inch chassis. They were still based on the highly successful Ford Falcon platform, just as the Mustang would be. Ford Motor Company knew there was a good-sized market for not only performance cars, but also for personalized models, which may or may not have high-performance traits. The 1964 Comets turned out to be excellent sellers for Ford. One of the main reasons that so many people bought them was because of Mercury's assault on the Daytona Motor Speedway, where 5 specially prepared Caliente hardtops participated in the Comet Durability Run, where Mercury set out to prove that their newest model was indeed a reliable car. To make it as legitimate as possible for new records in the eyes of the public, the entire run was completed under the watchful eyes of representatives of several highly respected sanctioning bodies. All told, it took about 100 people at the track for the run's entire duration to accomplish this goal. It began on September 21, 1963 and ended on October 30th, through all sorts of weather. Drivers were changed every 2 hours at the allowed pit stops where routine maintenance was also performed. Every Cyclone 289 high-performance solid-lifter small block V8 was carefully assembled, while the manual 4-speed Borg-Warner gearboxes were hand-assembled as well. Out back, a heavy-duty 9-inch rear axle completed the bulletproof drivetrain. Suspensions and brakes were fortified with heavy-duty components, and also safety equipment like heavy-duty wheels, racing tires, and full roll bars were also added. Additional instrumentation included a tachometer and oil temperature and fuel pressure gauges. Two-way radios were used by each driver for communication. The worst mechanical failure was a broken valve spring on one of the cars that put it out of record contention. Nevertheless, it was quickly repaired and still managed to complete the challenge. 4 cars went the required 100,000 miles in over 960 hours. 3 of these Calientes broke or established over 100 world speed and distance records. A 5th Comet was there to break a record and average 124.421 miles for 10,000 miles. Another durability run was conducted called the East African Safari Rally. It was an annual race through Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, and was considered the most unforgiving race course in the world. Lincoln Mercury Division entered 5 Calientes in the 3,000-plus miles race, and there were 91 cars from many different world manufacturers that also started the race. Only 21 finished, among them 2 Comets, but they placed 18th and 21st. This was the only year that Mercury would participate. Ford had developed the highly potent Thunderbolt drag car. It was a 1964 Fairlane 500 two-door sedan with a 427 high-riser engine, backed by either a 4-speed or an automatic. Mercury had Dearborn steel tubing construct a few cars. All were hardtops and ran quite successfully in the AFX class. Later, Dyno Don Nicholson ran a station wagon equipped the same way. It was a legend. All these race and endurance efforts paid off. The car-buying public responded enthusiastically by visiting their local dealers and purchasing an astounding 189,936 Comets, comprised of 15 different models. The Caliente was the newest model for those wanting a sporty hardtop. The performance-oriented Cyclone debuted about midway through the year on January 17, 1964. This option was loaded with desirable standard features like a Cyclone Super 289 4-barrel engine with single exhaust complete with a chrome dress-up package accentuating the black engine, a 3-speed manual transmission, bucket seats, a center console, unique door panels, an instrument cluster finished in a black camera case finish, a simulated wood grain sport steering wheel, a 6,000 RPM tachometer that looked like the Falcon Sprints, special 14-inch wheel covers with chrome lug nuts that looked like chrome reverse wheels, and special ornamentation on the front fenders. A long list of options ensured that a Cyclone could be ordered to suit every buyer. One curious thing that is, to this day, not fully understood is that the 64 Comet line used the engine code K in the VIN's 5th digit to designate the low-compression 289 4-barrel engine that was identical to the 64.5 Mustang's D code 289. It was rated at 210 horsepower. In the same year Ford Fairlane, the K VIN represented the solid lifter 289 high-performance mill. Usually all Ford divisions shared similar codes. Why the Comets did not use the D code is up for speculation. This causes much confusion today for the uninformed. Many ads have been placed for cars for sale with a K code as a high-performance 289 model. 1965 started out as a very competitive year for all the American manufacturers because cars like the Ford Mustang, the Chevrolet Supersport models, the Pontiac GTO, the Oldsmobile 442, and the Plymouth Barracuda S all competed for needed sales from the now huge baby boomer market. All these cars, plus many others, could be ordered any way a buyer wanted, as a personalized sporty car, a well-optioned luxury car, or as an all-out muscle car. Sales were exploding, and Mercury's compact entrant into this market was quite successful too. Because the Comet durability run in '64 was such a success, Mercury had another idea for a durability run, but one that would be much more challenging. How about attempting to drive 3 specially prepped Comet Caliente hardtops non-stop for 40 days and nights through 14 countries, starting in Argentina and ending in Alaska? Starting in Ushuaia, Argentina, this route offered all challengers extreme weather conditions and the unpredictability of international roads. On September 12, 1964, a team of drivers, mechanics, and official timers all sped northward through hostile environs of mountains, deserts, and jungles. The 3 entrants were modified regular production Comet Caliente hardtops. Their assigned mission was anything but routine. They wanted to prove once again to the public that Comet is the world's durability champion. After a grueling journey of exactly 16,247 miles, all 3 cars finished the run and no repairs other than routine maintenance were needed. The entourage of Calientes arrived in Fairbanks, Alaska on October 22, 1964. The entire trek was documented with many photos and daily accounts of what they experienced. Following up on their successful drag racing program using the Comet, several 64s were rebodied as 65s, and a new class was developed known as BFX, where 289 engines powered the cars, many using exotic induction. Some drag teams wanted to experiment with blowers and altered wheelbases, which eventually led to the development of the funny car. It was quite a time if you were a drag racing enthusiast. The Comet lineup consisted of 15 different models. All still rode on a 114-inch wheelbase. This would be the last year that they were based on the Falcon platform. An impressive production total of 165,052 Comets was reached by year's end. Standard Cyclone features included a 225 horsepower Cyclone Super 289 4-barrel with single exhaust, a chrome dress-up package on a black painted engine, a 3-speed manual transmission, a distinctively styled grille, additional rear panel ornamentation with a special name badge, a 6,000 RPM tachometer, which was different than in 1964, a black camera case finish on the instrument cluster, a sporty simulated wood steering wheel, bucket seats, a console, special door panels, special quarter panel ornamentation, and the same wheel covers as in '64. As expected, many options were available. Incidentally, 1965 was the first year for Ford's revolutionary reversible keys. Finally, a few 289 high-performance engines found their way between the shock towers of a Comet, but evidently Ford did not assign a different VIN code for these. They can only be confirmed by a build sheet or window sticker. 1966. This would be a big year for Ford with the introduction of the completely new intermediate models, including the Cyclone. Now available for the first time as a convertible, in addition to the two-door hardtop, these cars came in two distinct series, Cyclone and Cyclone GT. Ford engineers were finally able to design a completely new car with a 2-inch larger wheelbase over the previous models, so they would be able to easily accept the newest version of the reliable 390 engine. The GT version was now outfitted with performance goodies like a Holley carburetor, topped by a chrome open element air cleaner that was part of the dress-up package. A heavy-duty cooling system with a clutch fan and streamlined exhaust manifolds and a dual exhaust were all standard as part of the GT package. This Hypo 390 produced 335 ponies. This engine was only available in the Cyclone GT and the Fairlane GT models for this year. Now, all Ford-built engines would be painted Ford blue, although the 3-speed manual was the standard transmission. The big news at Ford would be the new C6 3-speed automatic that could be shifted manually or simply left in drive. Between the Cyclone GT and the Fairlane GT, many buyers opted for this new gearbox. Interestingly, the Fairlane was called GTA, while Cyclones were simply called GT. The manual 4-speed was no longer made by Warner Gear, but was now a Ford-built unit known as the top loader. Where the Cyclone really excelled was in the looks department. Inside, these cars were equipped with bucket seats, a console, distinctive door panels, a black camera case finish on the gauge cluster, and a sporty simulated wood steering wheel with a beautiful chrome horn ring. The sides of the car were adorned with dual upper pinstripe and rocker moldings. The grille had black highlights, as did the rear trim panel between the tail lamps. Special fender ornamentation was used as well. It's often thought that the Cyclone came with a dual scooped fiberglass hood as part of the package, just like the GT, but it was in fact a popular option. The GT interiors had all the same features as the Cyclone. Early model GTs were standard with a tachometer borrowed from the 65, and early cars also came with chrome valve covers that had die-cast nameplates affixed to it that read 390 Cyclone GT. They often leaked because of how the nameplate was affixed to the valve cover. Both features were discontinued soon after the model's introduction. On the exterior, Mercury wanted every onlooker to know this car was special. The grille, rear panel trim, upper body pinstripes, and the wheel covers were all borrowed from the lesser Cyclone, while racing tape stripes above the rocker panels replaced the moldings. Special ornamentation on the front fenders and an aggressive-looking, non-functional dual-scoop fiberglass hood completed the package. Underneath, all cars had the heavy-duty suspension with upgraded springs, shocks, and a larger front sway bar. The new GT convertible was selected to pace the most famous race in the world, the Indianapolis 500. It was the 50th annual race, and the pace car was driven by Henry Ford II's brother, Benson Ford, with track owner Tony Hulman and NASA astronaut Gus Grissom accompanying him. It is believed that a total of 33 specially prepared cars were used by track officials and dignitaries prior to and on the day of the race. They were all drilled for special bracketry to display flags. It's also believed that an additional 100 cars were sold as replicas to commemorate the event. All were candy apple red with white graphics, styled steel wheels without center caps, and parchment interiors, and were assembled in the early spring of 1966 in Lorain, Ohio. Dealerships and toy sellers had been distributing mostly 1/25th scale promotional cars every new model year in factory colors for many years, and the new Cyclone GT was no exception. Early promos were hardtops only and came in several colors. When the Cyclone GT was announced as the pace car, 2 color combinations, white with red decals and red with white decals in the hardtop body style, were used as giveaways to promote Mercury's selection for this prestigious event. Drag racers continued to develop their cars, and Dino Don and Jack Chrisman led the way with the assistance of the Logie family, who built specialized chassis. These newest funny cars had fiberglass flip-up bodies, a tube chassis, 1,000 plus horsepower engines, and more. They could break the quarter mile in less than 8 seconds. Total Comet sales were divided amongst 15 models for a total of 170,426 cars, still lagging behind the record number of cars sold in 1964. A noteworthy achievement was reached during the model year when the 1 millionth Comet was produced. It was a Caliente four-door sedan. 1967 was the second year of the styling cycle of the Mercury Comet, so only a few minor cosmetic changes were ordered, and a shuffling of standard and optional features were instituted as well. This year saw the federal government mandating seat belts for all passengers, the introduction of dual reservoir brake master cylinders, reverse lights, column-mounted four-way emergency flashers, a breakaway inside rearview mirror, and a collapsible steering column and wheel. Finally, the dash pad, visors, armrests, and windshield pillar pads were all made of softer materials. Big news in the Comet line was the availability of the NASCAR-inspired 427 engine. Mercury was really beginning to offer performance in their Cougar and Cyclone lines, so their ad slogan this year was Mercury, the man's car. It was quite effective at bringing male buyers into showrooms to buy a performance Mercury. It was soon realized, though, that many car purchasing decisions were influenced or made directly by women, so it was phased out at the end of 1969. Can you imagine that slogan being used in today's politically correct culture? It would never happen. Let's talk about the Cyclone. For the first time, these models were not badged with any Comet insignias. They would now be known as the Mercury Cyclone. As in 1966, the standard engine was the 289, still rated at 200 horsepower. It was still backed by the 3-speed manual, and as part of the package, many of the features seen the previous year were back again. Bucket seats, special door panels, a black camera case finish around the instrumentation, and a wood grain steering wheel with a special horn ring are immediately noticed inside. The console was no longer standard. On the exterior, a new grille that differs slightly from the standard Mercury Comet handsomely adorns the car's front. New ornamentation is seen, and rocker panel moldings and accent pinstriping also returned from 1966. The GT hood was still only available from the options list. For the performance enthusiast, the Cyclone was one of 4 series that could be had with either legendary 427 engine. The 427 4-barrel and the 427 8-barrel. With this engine, the manual 4-speed was mandatory. Just a few were ever built. The GT model still retained the base 390 high-performance engine, now rated at 320 horsepower. Its Ford cousin, the Fairlane GT, was now sporting the 289 2-barrel engine as standard. It would now be known as the Marauder V8. It was essentially the same engine as in 1966, but the power rating was likely downgraded for insurance purposes. Still featuring a heavy-duty cooling and chrome dress-up package, the air cleaner and valve covers differed from their 1966 counterparts. This year, all valve covers, no matter the engine size, proclaimed the famous Power by Ford slogan. Again, the heavy-duty 3-speed manual was the standard transmission, although very few buyers were satisfied with this gearbox in a high-performance automobile. When seeing either of these two body styles, a few things were immediately obvious. The same grille and some of the same ornamentation seen on the Cyclone was found on the GT. This year, the rocker panel stripes, now known as rally stripes, had the GT emblems on the front fenders within the stripes. As in '66, no matter the transmission, all were simply identified as such. However, in the Ford Fairlane and now the Mustang, automatic cars were designated GTA. The macho-looking standard fiberglass hood was back, as were the wheel covers that were now mounted on half-inch wider 14-inch wheels. Inside, the same features found in the Cyclone were seen in the GT. By this year, the competition between all the manufacturers in this segment of the market was fierce, so the low production numbers on the GT are not surprising. Total Comet sales for 14 models was 81,133, a dismal drop from 1966. Join us again this Sunday for part 2 of the history of the Mercury Cyclone. Until then, please be careful out there.